4
4 milliequivalents per liter.
That's correct. Yeah.
Expiratory reserve volume and residual volume.
That's correct. Yeah.
Osmoreceptors in the hypothalamus.
That's correct. Yeah.
Glucose-dependent insulinotropic peptide.
Correct. Yeah.
I think myosin ATPase.
That's correct. Answer is wrong. Yeah,
The x-axis is venous return, the y-axis is cardiac output.
that's correct. PCO2,
PCO2 is higher.
correct.
Presynaptic inhibition of the opiate.
That's correct.
Intrinsic factor that help in the B12 absorption.
That's correct. Yeah. Let's invite the 3 finalists and welcome them on stage. De La Salle University was the first team of students from the Philippines to join the IMSPQ. I think it was 2008 they came for the first time. Yeah, and they've been coming almost every year. And UGM was another regular ones from also about 2007, 2008. And Mahidol was also one of the earlier ones. And so we have 2 regular ones that are competing this afternoon for the championship of the 14 IMSPQ. I should, first of all, before the championship is announced and everybody is busy taking photographs as in the usual way, I'd just like to thank Dr. Danny and Dr. Dickey for organizing a very well organized 14 IMSPQ. Yeah. That's the bell. Okay, are you ready? First question. So, yeah. So there's a very short story. A medical student volunteer went on a 5-day low sodium diet in order to earn some money to buy a new handphone. Sounds familiar, isn't it? Yeah. So he went on a 5-day low sodium diet. Now the question is, how will the concentration of 1, sodium, and 2, potassium in his extracellular fluid change? Give your reasons. Yeah.
There will be decreased sodium extracellularly due to the low consumption of sodium.
Okay.
And then there would be increase in potassium.
Okay, answer is wrong. Okay, I assume no answer. So if you are on a low sodium diet, the final equilibrium is an isotonic contraction of your ECF. There's no change in sodium concentration. And although, which our student here might think that there is an aldosterone response, physiologically you should not expect any change in the potassium, or else that would be illogical. Okay, and Vander, we won't have time to explain here. Vander gives a very good reason why on a low sodium diet, although you have increased aldosterone, you do not get a secondary complication of hypokalemia. Okay, so the answer is unchanged for both. Okay, we can talk about this later. Yeah. Okay, second question to UGM. Please have your cooperation. Yeah. If there is an embolism to a local region of the lungs, first one, what is the value of the VQ? That's the first question. Second one, what would the value of the PO2 and PCO2 in the alveolar air theoretically approach? Let me repeat. If there is an embolism to a local region of the lungs. First one, what is the value of the VQ? Okay. The second one is, what would the value of the PO2 and the PCO2 be in the alveolar air theoretically approach?
The first one is infinite, and the second one, the inspired air, closer to the inspired air, that is one, for partial pressure of oxygen is 150 millimeter of mercury, and for carbon dioxide is 0 millimeter of mercury.
That's correct. Okay, right. Let's have a cooperation. The third question in this first cycle: before acclimatization, what two effects oppose and reduce the hyperventilatory response to hypoxia? Okay, before acclimatization, what two effects oppose and reduce the hyperventilatory response to hypoxia? Hyperventilatory response to hypoxia. What two effects oppose and reduce the hyperventilatory response to hypoxia?
Okay, so the cause is hypoxia, right?
Yes.
And hypoxia will be received, this factor will be received at the peripheral chemoreceptor, and it will stimulate the hyperventilation, okay, for the first one. And the hypoxia, you mean inside pulmonary or?
No, it's just that before acclimatization happens, there are two effects that oppose the hyperventilatory response. Yeah.
The other one is the chemoreceptor in the central chemoreceptor, because after acclimatization, they will pump the bicarb into the central, and it will cause no response from the central.
Answer is wrong. Okay, I assume there's no answer. There are two effects. One is well known, and that is before acclimatization sets in, you have a respiratory alkalosis, which oppose the effect. And the second one, and this is mentioned in one of the nice book, Michael Levitsky, Respiratory Physiology, is that the lower the hypoxia means there's more deoxygenated hemoglobin, and that buffers some of the hydrogen, which is also a stimulus for hyperventilatory response. So it's a little bit complex, okay? Yeah. Okay, just press the bell. Okay, your question is, when sodium is reabsorbed at the proximal tubule, some paracellular back flux, back movement, or diffusion into the lumen can occur. What event minimizes this back flux, which can potentially reduce the overall net reabsorption of sodium? Okay, it's very long, let me read again. When sodium is reabsorbed at the proximal tubule, some paracellular back flux or diffusion into the lumen can occur. What event normally minimizes this back flux, which can potentially reduce the overall net reabsorption of sodium?
Reduce filtered sodium load.
Answer is wrong. Okay, no answer. Yeah, the back flux will happen if you have a concentration gradient. Okay, but because there is isoosmotic reabsorption of water, the concentration of sodium remains equal to the interstitial fluid. That's why you do not have a back flux. But if you have osmotic glucosuria, the concentration gradient will be there, and you get a back flux. Okay, yeah. So the answer is basically the isoosmotic absorption of water maintains equal concentration, so there's very little back flux. Okay, yeah. Okay, your question, UGM, is okay, at the skeletal muscle cell membrane, state your reasons whether the diffusion of the two things, oxygen, one, or potassium, obeys Fick's law. At the skeletal muscle cell membrane, state your reasons for whether the diffusion of oxygen, two, potassium, obeys Fick's law.
Oxygen and potassium,
Yeah,
right?
two things.
Yeah.
Does oxygen obey? Does potassium obey?
Oxygen will obey Fick's law, but potassium will not obey Fick's law because Fick's law is only for neutral substance.
That's correct. Okay, there's no charge factor in Fick's law. It's for neutral solute. Okay, this is an interesting question. Let's see how you respond. How would you voluntarily, without injuring yourself, we don't want you to injure yourself on stage, how would you voluntarily, without injuring yourself, produce a reduction of efferent impulses from your carotid and aortic sinus? How would you voluntarily, without injuring yourself, produce a reduction of efferent impulses from your carotid and aortic sinus?
How I voluntarily won't injure the cell during the reduced efferent impulse on carotid sinus and aortic sinus, right?
Yes. How would you do that voluntarily? You can show it on stage now.
When you reduce the efferent impulse on the carotid and the aortic sinus, it will mean that you have your blood pressure drop, right? Then that will reduce the blood flow, and what will be voluntary control is maybe you have to stimulate your emotion, and the high center of the brain will stimulate the hypothalamus to increase the sympathetic outflow, and it will increase the blood pressure again.
Answer is wrong. Yes.
Stimulation voluntarily of the baroreceptors would result in decrease in firing rate of the sympathetic. You can do this by performing the carotid massage.
Say it again. What massage, right?
Carotid massage.
Carotid massage. No, answer is wrong. Yeah. So you've got some of the concept right. If you want to voluntarily now on stage reduce the efferent impulses, you have to reduce your blood pressure. So one of the ways you can do that is to do a Valsalva. Yeah, you reduce the venous return, blood pressure decreases, so decrease efferent impulse. Yeah. Okay. When I was doing this question, I was obviously doing it in my office. Okay, last cycle of 3 questions. De La Salle, your question is 2 parts. One, give the unit for the osmolar clearance. That's the first one. And the second one, give the formula that will relate osmolar clearance with the free water clearance and the urine flow rate. Number 1, give the unit for osmolar clearance. Number 2, give the formula that relates osmolar clearance with free water clearance and the urine flow rate.
Milliosmoles per minute.
Sorry, first one?
Milliosmoles per minute.
Second one.
C sub SOM is equal to free water clearance minus urine flow rate, quantity urine flow rate times urinary concentration.
Answer is wrong. Yes.
The unit for osmolar clearance, right? It is milli per minute or volume per time. And the second, the formula for free water clearance equal the urine flow rate minus osmolar clearance.
Correct. Okay, UGM, your question is, okay, this one you have to, it's a familiar diagram, you just, okay, please, you just visualize it. In the volume pressure cardiac cycle loop, which you are familiar with, shown graphically, the two parts, what does the width of the closed loop represent, and what do the two vertical lines represent? In the volume pressure cardiac cycle loop, shown graphically, what does the width of the closed loop represent, and what do the two vertical lines represent?
The graph shows cardiac work, and the two lines is isovolumetric ventricular contraction and isovolumetric ventricular relaxation.
The width?
I'm sorry?
That's the two lines, the width of the loop.
Sorry, can you repeat the
With
question?
W-I-D-T-H, the width.
Oh, width!
Width, yeah, width, that's right.
It represents the blood ejected, the volume of blood ejected, and it represents.
Sorry, the volume of blood ejected?
Yes,
You're not sure?
I'm sure.
You're correct. Okay, yeah. Last question. Okay, state with reasons whether nystagmus is still present in a blind person. State with reasons whether nystagmus is present in a blind person.
Yes, it still can exist because nystagmus is called from the vestibular organ and it can still be stimulated.
That's correct, yeah. So we congratulations to worthy host and worthy winner of the 14 IMSPQ, 2 years in a row. Congratulations.